and welcome to the exciting end of round 2, beginning of round 3. So, a lot has happened. Let's look at the tech charts first. There are 4 of them now, because I made more techs. So, as you can see, lots of people have been doing the whole tech thing. Japan was the first one to get to 3 techs, so they can now research the black ones. And they've gotten propaganda, super heavy battleships, and the I-400 submarine. They are also working on super heavy aircraft carriers right at this moment. Even Anzac has got one tech, well, starting a tech, propaganda. Russians are starting some stuff. Germans are starting some stuff. They've got 2 techs so far. The Americans aren't doing so well. We'll get to that in a moment. The Russians, they have flying aircraft carriers. Of course they do. And the Italians have propaganda. They're starting it, and heavy tanks, because you might want an Italian Tiger. That is what the build chart looks like so far. So the Japanese have advanced their super heavy battleship, and everyone else has advanced their stuff. The Anzac are building 2 cruisers. So they brought almost every single boat that could reach and put it right there. So they're on reach of that fleet, and by extension the mainland. They're in range of all these territories and Hawaii. And these boats are also in range of Hawaii. Also, there's an Anzac cruiser right there. The Anzac aren't doing much. They saved their money from the first turn, and they just built some transports, and they're building cruisers. The French moved up some guys, and the Japanese did take a few of these territories, and then they were pushed back by the Chinese. And Formosa was taken by the Indians. So, yeah, the Indians did declare war on Japan. So that means Anzac is at war with Japan too. Not that that means much. And if we move over here, we see that these guys are leaving. And there's a flying aircraft carrier there. And there's a flying aircraft carrier there. So there are 2, and they can carry 1 fighter with them each. So that means, and the fighter's movement doesn't count. So it's just the bomber's movement. So they could go 6, and then land in a friendly space, and then the fighter could keep going another 4. So technically that's legal in my game, which is quite absurd, but I like absurd. Germans just doing some stuff. They're about to be going into Russia, but the Russians are pretty heavily defended here. Nothing against that, but still pretty heavily defended. The Italians, on the UK turn, I thought the Italians were toast, because the UK took out all of that right there. They've only got 1 territory left, and that's not worth anything. And they're moving stuff into the Middle East, so I thought the Italians were dead, but they did have 8 guys. So they went down here, took out the French, they blitzed with their tank, and there should be 3 guys there, but there aren't. And they took that, and then the Battle of Egypt was very ferocious, but the Italians inevitably won. They lost a bunch of ships to that horrendous island right there, and the Italians went over and took out the French over there. And that French cruiser left, just went out over there. And those ships from the Americans came up. So, oh yeah, and the UK built that Instafleet, and they moved their other fleet over here to take some of these guys over here. So they're preparing for a D-Day. These subs are hanging around Iceland, up to no good. And that's basically where it stands at the moment. So I will let you know what happens at the end of round 4.
The two naval giants, Japan and America, prepare themselves for an epic battle. Japan prepares a landing force. Who knows where they will head? The UK declares war upon the Japanese and takes Formosa. Anzac buys to transports and prepare for an island-hopping campaign. The Chinese carry out guerrilla tactics against the invading Japanese. An urgent message was received by the troops in Siberia. They are needed back in Moscow. The Indians continued their steady march up into China, as well as into the Middle East. US Navy ships dock in Calcutta, and a French destroyer. The Italians were kicked out of East Africa and Brazil. The British have moved their fleet over to Canada to ferry troops to the UK. They have also built a new small fleet to fight the German subs in the Atlantic. With tensions rising in Europe and America entering the war soon, we will have to see what happens in Turn 3.
Okay, welcome back. This is Lieutenant Game 57 with the third round of Custom Maximize 1940 Global. Unfortunately, I just found out that I deleted the first round footage. So, yeah. This is the end of round 3. It is now round 4. So here's how it looks right now. The Anzac finished those cruisers, moved that destroyer back. The Japanese have declared war upon the U.S. and they had taken Canada and Alaska. However, the U.S. swiftly took that back. They built some transports over there and a destroyer. They're moving steadily into China. They've got a little foothold there. They took Kwangtung because they declared war on everyone. There's a French destroyer right there. And, well, that's basically it. The Russians are moving back. There was a massive fleet engagement over there. The Japanese won. They, in fact, took only, I think, 3 casualties, or maybe 4, 2 destroyers and 2 subs. The U.S. lost their entire fleet, 2 battleships, or a battleship, a carrier, and a bunch of other stuff. Get down. Get. Here's how the tech charts look. So you've got all that. Not much has happened. Everyone's researching nuclear technology, nuclear energy, and well, just tech things. I'll let you know when something exciting happens. That's how the build looks. So the Italians are building a heavy battleship, and everyone else is moving stuff up, moving their battleships up. We've got the U.S. who built a light carrier right there and 2 battleships. They are moving troops everywhere. They're moving ships from the Philippines all the way down to Madagascar. The British are moving up to try and retake Egypt. I doubt it's going to happen. The Italians took that back. I don't know if I did that. I'll have to check that. The Russians are pressuring the Germans. The Germans took Baltic states. And the Russians did attack Finland. They lost everybody but a tank and a fighter. But they did get those troops up there, whittled down. They used the fighter from this flying aircraft carrier, went all the way over there. And that's basically it. They're just a bunch of moving up. The Indians are moving up. The British are moving up. They've got a massive fleet right there, although it's only 3 transports, so it doesn't pose much of a threat. The U.S. is pretty destroyed. They don't have a fleet. I mean, if that counts as a fleet. The Chinese, they're just building up. French destroyer. And there's a French cruiser right there. He came from all the way over there in the Mediterranean. So yeah, that's basically all that's happened so far. Losing all of your footage is a real pain, but yeah, sorry about that. I will get back to you at the end of round 4. Thank you all for watching.
Both the Americans and British build up their fleets, preparing for the inevitable D-Day attack. A shadow falls over the Eastern Front as both German and Russian armies clash in a brutal war of attrition. The Japanese drive deeper into enemy Chinese territory. A French destroyer. Who has won in the Pacific, Japan. The Japanese fleet, under the brilliant Admiral Yamamoto, destroys most of the American fleet, crippling the American war effort.